Hello and welcome to the 25th episode of Live and Dream Podcast. I'm Linus Kilius, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Aaron Richardson. We're both brokers, managers, and partners of Century 21 Heritage Group. Aaron, we've got a pretty exciting set of guests, not just one guest, set of guests we're going to be bringing on the show today.
The homegirls. These two are amazing. They're you'll get to really know them over the podcast, and their infectious energy and their attention to their customers and clients. They're a great real estate team.
Yeah, and they've got an amazing story to tell. I can't wait to start the interview. And Aaron, I think you hit it spot on saying they're infectious, because they really are. And I think everyone who's listening, watching, who's ever met them in person gets that sense about them. They draw you into a conversation.
Yeah, it'll be exciting for sure.
Yeah, so without further ado, let's get into the interview. So we're joined today by Beth Lindsay and Wendy Wolf of the Homegirls team, a really successful real estate team in the Hamilton area. Beth and Wendy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks
so
for
much.
having us.
Yes, excited to be here.
Yeah, well, we're really excited to have you as well. And one thing I'd love to ask you about, because I don't know this side about you, I want to get your guys' origin story. I mean, the Homegirls almost sounds like a superhero team, and I feel like in some ways you guys are superheroes. So I'd love to hear what your backstory is in terms of like how you actually got into real estate and like why you made this a decision to start this career. So Wendy, we want to start with you?
You want to start with me? Okay.
Yeah. So I'll start with each of you, and maybe we'll weave that into like how you guys decided to team up and take this journey together.
Okay. This could be a really long story, so I'm going to try and shorten it for you because I've had a bajillion jobs. I started out in human resources. I switched to media, to television. I owned a gym for a while, and I did wedding planning and event planning. So my entire sort of work career has been in servitude, if you will, of people. I've always been in a service type of environment, and I've always liked to help people, whether it's help them lose weight or plan their wedding or, get a job, that kind of thing. So sales was never really something that I was into. When I left CHCH way back in 2007, I actually registered for the real estate course, and I was going to do it. But something just kind of shifted, and it wasn't the right thing, wasn't the right time. Cut to, 15 years later, and it was kind of the right time. And I look at all of the jobs and careers I've had where I've been working with people and, been sort of serving people. It kind of made sense that real estate was the right role for me. Also, I had bought and sold 5 of my own properties. So it was one of these things where I loved the process of just doing it as a buyer and a seller. And I thought, wow, this could be a really cool job to do, to just like, I felt good about what I was doing in the transactions, and the real estate agents I was working with. This is kind of judgmental, but I felt they were lacking in certain things. And, the things I thought about that they could do better or be nicer or be more empathetic. So I thought, you know what? No, I think this is my jam. I really like the business. I really love houses. I really love this city, and even though I'm not from Hamilton, I wanted to be here. I wanted to have, permanent roots here, and everything just kind of, fit together. And when I was, I guess, 49, I finally took the courses, and then by 50, I was licensed, and there you go. So yeah, that's kind of a long-winded way of how I got into real estate. It wasn't like I was born, when I was born, I was like, oh my God, I want to grow up and be a realtor. It just kind of all the pieces of the puzzle kind of fit together, and I'm very happy that I made the decision because it's definitely where I'm supposed to be.
I'm happy.
Yeah, not a lot of kids aspire to be real estate agents.
No, yeah,
It's right there. Doctors, lawyers,
Right.
Firefighters.
Fire people.
Fire people.
Fire people, yeah.
Oh, that's too funny.
All right, well, how about you, Beth?
So I was actually a corporate event coordinator for 20 years, and actually loved my job. I would plan the events, fly all over the world, overseeing them, and it was actually a phenomenal job. In the meantime, my husband and I were buying and selling properties. And so my initial intention was to get my license and do like a part-time gig, which I know now is literally awful. It's not the way to go at all. But so as it turned out, like just fate stepped in, and the company I was working for closed their Canadian operations. And so I had a year of severance. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I was trying to think, do I want to go back into that industry? I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like totally heartbroken that that company closed because I loved it. So my husband said, why don't you just try and dive into real estate full time? Let's see what happens. And so I did. I had the year to get got my license in a couple months because it was a different program then. So I got my license and I started selling, and I basically put myself out to any open house that would have me in the first year. I open house every every Saturday, Sunday. And I built my entire first year business on open houses, or just like getting people from those. So I kind of hit the ground running and haven't looked back. So it's been 10 years now.
So at what point did you guys, well, first off, meet, but then how did you identify that you could grow together and be stronger together as opposed to being individuals in this industry?
You want me to go? We're like, did you want to take it? So I actually met Wendy when she came to the Century 21 office, but she was kind of quasi partnered with somebody else, like not officially, but they were kind of working like as a team. That lady ended up changing brokerages. So Wendy and I got to chatting, and we were like, okay, let's do this like kind of half partnership where we're still individual, but we would do these events together. And if anything came of those events, then we would split that commission. The waters got too muddled there. It was like nothing was really coming of it. We weren't like doing anything really. It wasn't. And then so fast forward, I think a year later.
Yep.
And we were like, Wendy was starting the show, and she had a TV show. She was starting that, and it was just the timing just seemed to work. We thought, you know what, let's partner up that way. You've got support on this end while you're in the show, and we'll share our leads together. And so we did that, and it's been coming out 2 years in August. Yep. So 2 years August will be our anniversary. And it's been sensational. The second time around was exactly what we should have just gone in full force the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that was it. Initially, it was sort of, you keep your business, I keep my business, but we'll do stuff together. And there's a bit of sort of trepidation, maybe hesitation, because, when you're used to being a solo agent, you've always sort of done things by yourself and what have you, kind of get into your groove, and you're like, you kind of, is this going to work? Is it not going to work? I know I bounced it off my husband, as I'm sure you do with Darren. Yeah. And of course, mine is, well, this could work, but he was very like devil's advocate, like positive, negative. And I've kind of went, okay, forget it. I'm not asking you anymore. Yeah. Because you're not helping me. But yeah, I just said, okay, we're going to do this, and let's, both feet in. Yeah. And yeah, it's been fantastic. I wish we would have done it, when we first started, but you know what? It happened organically, and
the timing. Yeah. The timing is when it should have been. Like, and even that we needed to like figure out our own crap. And so now coming into it, like I said, Wendy and I are very similar in the way we approach business. It wouldn't work if we weren't. Mm-hmm. And we're very similar in the way we hustle, and the way, if you have one person that was kind of like, okay, like, oh no, whatever, it's fine, we'll get it done when we get it done. And then the other was like, I'm pointing at you because you'd be that person.
Yeah, I would.
That would be like, hey, let's get it done. So luckily, like, again, that you're responsible to somebody else when you're in a partnership. So I have to get things done. Wendy has to get things done. So it definitely keeps you motivated, keeps you going. So yeah, I agree. But we should have done it the year prior. But the timing was what it was supposed to be.
Exactly.
And now we're just growing. Yay.
I'm so impressed because I know from experience, and I've seen it a billion times, where people get into partnerships for the wrong reason, right? And there's a saying that partnerships are sinking ships, because it's hard sometimes to be in line with someone else's personality, motivation, drive, like all of the things, being on the same page about all the decisions. Because if you're partners in the truest sense of the word, you have to really make sure you have all of those elements, or else it will self-destruct too. So I am very impressed that you guys have found that, and I can tell, even just like talking to you, that you guys are like the perfect pair, right? That this is something that's going to really flourish, and like you guys together are stronger together, right? You're not butting heads, and I'm sure you challenge each other, and you work with each other to kind of overcome challenges and everything. But that's something that I'm really impressed with. Is there something that for those people who are looking to get into partnerships, like any sort of advice about how you maintain this relationship and make it such a healthy one as well? Because I know it would be a challenge for a lot of people.
For me, it's just about, if you have issues, you have to talk about them immediately. You can't let things fester. Not that she and I ever have
No, but it's things we've had to talk about.
but yeah, you have to kind of, it's always full disclosure. It's always, you can't get your back up about things. You can't be too sensitive. I mean, we're very, very different people, but we have enough respect for each other to approach things in a very respectful way. I'm a bit more gruff, if you will, but she knows that if I say things and I don't put 1,000, happy face emojis, it doesn't mean I'm angry or my tone is whatever. It's just flat out like, let's just, get to it and talk about it. But yeah, communication is key. You have to have moments of levity. It can't always be work all the time. You have to have some fun. And this job can be really, as we all know, super stressful, and it can be a real pain in the butt. It can be hard. There's a lot of disappointment. You have a lot of, emotions in your sellers and your buyers, what have you. So you have to have a really good, easy, flowy balance with your partner, because if you don't have that, then your whole job is stressed.
Yeah.
And then it just sucks. So,
and yeah, I think it's really important. Like, yeah, the respect is key. Communication is key. And then also understanding, especially when you first get into, there's going to be ebbs and flows of where the business is coming from.
Yeah.
So that's super important to understand, because like the first half of our, especially when you're, right now it's not bad because all of our clients are our clients. But when you first start, there could be all Wendy's clients coming forward or all my clients coming forward. Yeah. And so you're like, if you might have one person that's had a stronger year individually, but so you have to realize ebbs and flows from where that business is coming from. Because you don't want to build resentment. Like, you don't want to be like, okay, well, like Wendy had like 5 listings start at the beginning of the year. Like, why am I giving Beth half of my commission? When these are my people. So you have to understand that the business will come in ebbs and flows like that. And it is exactly what happens actually. So,
but eventually there'll be
which is where we're at now.
Yeah.
It's so the first 2 years, it is a bit of like all Wendy's people, then all my people. And so you have to understand, because that's a part of the getting into it.
And what is your guys' like long-term plan as well? I mean, you've talked a little bit about your short-term plan about, you've got a new agent that's working on your team and you're planning on bringing on more support in that side of things. What's your next step for growth? Like, what's the Homegirls team kind of growth strategy here?
Retirement in Aruba.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting growth strategy. I know.
Homegirls, Puerto Rico.
Yeah. It's interesting because how far are we apart? 9 years, 10 years?
10 years.
Yeah. So we're 10 years apart.
Yeah.
So when you're 47?
Yep.
Okay. I'm in my 50s.
Wow.
I know. Oh, I'm 57. We're in my 57th year. So
throw it at what am I waiting to while we're here?
140.
You can bleep it out if you want.
No, but I mean, so we're 10 years apart. So if you look at it this way, I mean, when Beth is my age, I'm almost I'm pushing 70. So it's one of those things where I think we're looking at, just we're kind of staying in the now, in the current, in the present. And hopefully, by 10 years from now, I'm still wanting to do this job because I love it and healthy and what have you. But yeah, I think that we're kind of building something fantastic to help the people who will be sort of taking over, right?
Yeah,
we'll be taking the Homegirls team into 2050 or whatever. But then we can kind of just piece out and collect our 30% on the beach somewhere. Yeah. So we want to build something that's going to be powerful and has longevity and has legs. But I don't think we're in a super big rush to do that, because it's not like we're trying to retire next week or anything. So yeah, we don't really have, I think, a long-term strategy. Yeah. It's more of a 3-year plan rather than a 10-year plan. But I think we'll be doing this for a while. I have that feeling. It's fun.
I really want the Homegirls name. Like, again, this is why we were super picky on who we were letting on our team too, because it's going to be very important that the Homegirls brand remains what it is. And I can't wait to see that take off a bit. Like, I want Hamilton, I want it to become a household name where people, they hear Homegirls, or they've heard, like, you talk to somebody like, oh, Homegirls team. Yeah, I've heard of you guys. I've seen your signs out there. Like, we want to make it that it's like, you think of real estate, you think of Homegirls team.
Yeah.
And that's why we're being picky about who's coming on with us, because they have to have that exact same approach to taking care of the customer. What we don't want is somebody who treats our clients not in the way we would. And they're like, oh yeah, they're with the Homegirls team. And then that totally taints the picture of what we're trying to do here. So Yeah, that's a little bit of a long term. I really want Homegirl's name to be way more out there than it is right now.
Yeah. And I think that is a long-term plan, right?
Yeah.
And then one thing that not enough realtors think enough about is like, how am I going to get to the point where I can go and just live on the beach and take that 30% or whatever it is, right? Like it's that retirement, like what's going to happen after real estate. There's some horrible stat out there about, your average realtor who retires has like 10,000 in their bank account, their house paid off, and that's it, right? And the fact that a lot of people don't think about, okay, like when I retire, what's this going to look like? And like, how am I going to enjoy that next stage of my life? And how am I going to be financially secure? It's an important part of the conversation to have.
Absolutely.
What I want to say is we love having you guys with Century 21 Heritage Group, and really appreciate the fact that you bring that ethics and the quality of service you give your clients. You do the brand proud, and you're infectious. Your energy around the office and everything. We just love having you. So
Thank
we
you.
appreciate you.
Well, we love being here.
We're happy to be home.
Yeah.
Awesome.
How's Kingston?
Oh, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
So it's colder than I'd like for this time of year, and there's I think the snow finally melted yesterday, which was nice. But
we got
I'm
snow last night.
You guys got snow last night?
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
We had snow here yesterday too, but didn't land.
It didn't. Yeah, it landed and then melted immediately.
Yeah.
I'm so done with winter. I love winter, but I'm
do too.
just done with it.
I hate it.
I love it.
I'm with you, Beth.
Yeah, it offers me nothing.
Yeah. Well, if you're from Montreal or like that way, you kind of have to love winter, or you're screwed all year round. Because
Well, then I'd be screwed all year round.
you would.
That's why I don't live in Montreal.
You'd be vacationing.
Yes. Exactly.
There's no saving grace
Woman.
for winter for you?
No saving grace for winter? Like none.
Oh, for me or for Wendy? No, I hate it. The only thing I do, like I snowmobile, so that's my only saving grace. But even that, I'm not even loving anymore either. So no, if I could, I would live in California where it'd be warm every day. And then, but no, I don't.
But then you have to live with Californians.
That's fair. That's fair.
Pros and cons to everything, I guess.
Mm. Cool.
I forgot that it was. I forgot it was a black background. And then I wore a black shirt. So, but luckily I'm not looking like the floating head we were worried I was going to look like.
Yes.
So we're okay.
The overhead light really saved us here, I
Yeah.
think.
Oh yeah. That's a great light.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, fun fact, talking about your black shirt with black background, we used me and Aaron, when we did podcasting like 10 years ago, I used to use a green screen, and I did wear a green shirt one day. And it turns out green screens, when you're wearing a green shirt, doesn't really work out too well.
Yeah.
No.
So I couldn't, it was a nightmare trying to get that one to work out. That was
Oh.
literally a floating head. So
Yeah.
Well, we had like a backdrop here if we needed to, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It's enough definition of black here. We're okay.
Exactly. And I mean, we have the, I don't know, what is this, like Minecraft pattern or something? Yeah, PS5 or.
It's like Roblox.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Actually, we had a client, Natalie and Sebastian.
Oh,
his son Sebastian.
Yeah.
So we did a kids listing agreement with him, and we said, if you keep your room clean, yada, 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 we're going to give you a gift card at the end of this. And he was like, oh, so excited. Room is, meticulous, spotless, whatever. So at the end, I said, what gift card am I getting? And he said Roblox, and I thought it was Roadblocks. So I'm going into all these stores asking for Roadblocks gift cards, and people are saying, well, maybe Home Depot or maybe Canadian Tire. I had no clue. So I finally messaged the mom, and I'm like, what the hell's Roadblocks? She's like, no, Roblox, ROBLUX. I was like, or whatever.
As if they didn't know what you're talking about.
I know. I'm like, does anybody have kids anymore? Like, what's going on?
I mean, you
over
could
there?
have called me on that one. I'm just gonna
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. Anyway, that's my Roadblock
If it comes to
story.
kids, just lean in.
Fair.
When it comes to having all disposable income, I'll lean in.
Okay, that's fine. Or cats, or long drive, or guns. I'm really good with guns. So. That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, don't maybe cut that, Linus.
well, we just kind of let the cameras roll and we see what
Yeah,
happens.
no, I
and take
think
little
but
chunks
this
and
is where you
stuff
get
from it, right?
this is where you get the best stuff,
Oh
right?
my god! So yeah, Wendy's great with guns, and
Legal though. I mean, I'm a responsible firearm owner, but yeah, I like my weapons. I shouldn't say weapons. That's horrible, but firearms. No, every year for the first 4 years of our marriage, Jeff bought me a gun for an anniversary gift. Like it was, so I don't have 10 firearms now, but because it's been 10 years. But yeah, so the first 4 years, I got a handgun, a rifle, and 2 shotguns. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
I just got jewelry. I'm done.
Says
You
a
get
lot
along
about
so well
There's a lot
with my
about
brother.
us. Yeah, because
Yeah.
you'd have a lot of. So Jeff has, guns from his grandfather and his father and collector's items. So, pick a war. He's got a gun from that war. So yeah, it's a pretty cool, eclectic collection of firearms. So it's neat. When he goes to the range, I don't always go with him, but when he goes to the range, guys are always like, "Oh my God, can I try this? Can I try that? What's this one like?" And yeah, it's kind of fun. So he's very proud. But we also have like a proper lock on the door itself, like a mechanism to get in. So yeah, I mean, we're, like I said, we're very responsible, but they're so much fun. I mean, I understand people's, being afraid of guns and people sort of not understanding why you might want that many firearms. But when you actually do go to the range and you use them and the different actions, the bolt and the lever and the pump, it's a blast.
I've never shot a gun in my entire life.
Well, we'll have to
Like
fix
water
that.
gun.
No, I have a lot of those too. As you know, I love my water guns.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
Well, I was really because I've got two kids, 12 and 14, and the water guns these days aren't nearly as powerful as they were when I was a kid. And I remember they just, maybe it was like 4 or 5 years ago, they reintroduced the super soakers again. I was like, oh man, I gotta get those for my kids. And we got them, and I was so disappointed. I'm not sure if they're like limited on how powerful they can be or what it is, but they don't have the same oomph. They don't build water guns like they used to.
well, they don't because they don't have children like they used to. They're all very sensitive. And, oh my God, it's
Oh my God. My boys are still like, I mean, my kids are older now, but they're like rough and tumble. But
Yep.
I have a grandson on the way, so I'll build him to be tough. We'll get him an OG water gun.
We can do that, or we'll get Jeff to build him one
Oh my
because
God,
he can
that'd be
build
so
guns
good.
too.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll build him his own
We're gonna
special
build-
water gun.
My grandson's gonna have the best one then.
Yeah, absolutely. Just be in the pool.
I can tell you guys really enjoy each other's company. You must have a blast on a daily basis, eh?
We're forced to, really.
Yeah,
We're together 24/7
It's
right
all
now.
fake.
Yeah.
Really.
I'm actually, as soon as we leave here, I'm like,
Yeah, and I'm so done with her.
yeah.
No, but it's interesting because I was thinking about this podcast and what we would be talking about, and not that I like to pre-formulate my answers, but just thinking about how I would explain things. And when people talk about partnership, I kind of look at Beth and I say, when you find someone who has the same hustle, the same work ethic, the same approach to business, the same goals business wise, and the empathy required to really put your clients first, then you hang on to that person. And that's kind of how I feel about her. So it was one of those things where all that, I know, right? All that stuff it was like, I mean, I'm not going to find all of that in another person, I don't think. I might, but right now, I mean, my goodness, why would I not partner with this person who it just makes sense.
Yeah.
And then now that we've spent the amount of time that we have together, it's just, sentences are finished and wardrobe is
We're
duplicated.
currently wearing matching shoes right now by accident. We showed up in matching shoes.
Yeah.
No, but Wendy is actually 100% right, because like as much as our personalities are actually very, very night and day, the way we work is actually identical. And where, like, I just joke, like, where I fall, she's like really, really good at. Like, I'm not as organized as Wendy is. Wendy will be like, "Oh, did you like do X, Y, Z?" I'm like, "No, I didn't do any of that." And she'll be like, "Okay, well, it's okay. I'll do it then." And then, or she'll be like, "Did you submit this paperwork?" I'm like, "No, I didn't do that either." But I'm like, "But I will." But I will do it.
And then I'll be, okay, there's this guy and he's driving me crazy and I'm going to punch him in the face. So can you take this call, please? And she's like, "No problem. Got it." That's how it works.
I can woo. I can woo.
Yes. Yeah. She's definitely the wooer. And I'm
Yeah.
the one who's like, he said, "What now? Give me that number." I
No,
will call this
that's
person."
actually happened. So we've had agents. I don't want to say the word man, but we've had some agents like try and be like really aggressive as far as like the way they're handling like a deal, and sometimes they're like Toronto agents. Sorry, but they are, and they just approach it differently. And if they're being really aggressive, Wendy will just say, "Just give me the phone. Just give me the number. I'm going to call them." And then as soon as she does, all of a sudden we get an email back that it's like, "Hey, so great talking with you, Wendy." I'm like,
What?
same guy that I was talking to? Because
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But
Is
it's
it like a good cop, bad cop thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
That
works.
bad
So-
cop, won't cop.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Sometimes you just need, a separate, just sort of look at
Yeah.
something from a different view, if you will. And yeah, it's nice to be able to switch the roles if we have to, and just know that I know that if I'm dealing with someone that I know is going to be a pain in my butt, and I'm patient with certain things, but I'm not super patient, not like Beth, then I'll automatically know that this is going to be someone that I'm going to sort of say, okay, can you take this? And it just works. So.
And we just hired for our team too, which is exciting. So
Awesome.
Oh, wow.
yeah, we got our first homie. So she started. So she's actually started like unofficially last week, but she's officially now like good to go. So she's doing her first lease for us today.
Yeah.
Today. Yeah.
So when you go in to find a team member, what's your process? How did you find her?
So actually, she was already here. That's how we found her. But we did interview 3 other people.
Yep.
And said no, because it wasn't about like getting just a person, like a body on the team.
Yeah.
And like even when we got Alexa now, who was amazing, like I did have like I was like, we've got such a good dynamic right now that I'm actually worried about bringing anybody into it, because like what he said, we do like just follow each other, like finish each other's sentences. So when we were interviewing people, it was really important that they understood that we're not transactional agents. Like we're very much above and beyond. There is so many agents in Hamilton, Burlington that people have to choose from. So you have to go above and beyond. And we had to make sure that whoever was coming in our team had the exact same approach, understood that, you know, there's going to have to like work hard. There's going to be times where if we've got a listing coming up, like we just have a listing start yesterday. For 2 days, Wendy and I were there cleaning and organizing and making sure the backyard was clean and putting the garbage away from the front, like more than just sticking your sign on the front lawn and away you go. Like we had to make sure whoever was coming into our team had the exact same approach. She did. Yeah. And we had a couple people that just were, the vibe didn't feel right. If like at the end of the day, it just didn't feel like a good fit. And so we said no. Yep. And then this one was just to say yes.
Yeah, it was all about, you know, where do the leads come from? How do you get your leads? How many leads do I get? When will I start getting business, you know, brought to me, blah, blah, blah. And it was kind of, no, that's not how it works. Yeah, we're going to give you leads. And I mean, Beth and I we're all referral. That's kind of how our business has been. We've never had to buy leads or pay for leads. Now, having said that, if someone comes onto our team and we don't have enough business, obviously, that would be something we'd look into and try and what have you. But it was just it was all about money and business. And I don't know, it wasn't a good vibe.
No, it was
and Alexa, actually, the house that we're talking about, she came over the first couple of days and she was on her hands and knees, like scraping paint off the floors even before she was part of our team. We just sort of asked her, you know, to help out and let's see how she vibes and you know what she's willing to do. And from the get-go, we loved her hustle. We loved her willingness to, what do you need? Whatever you need, I'm in there. Yeah, exactly.
So. And we, like, even before she approached us about coming, because she approached us about coming on the team. And even before she did, Wendy and I were like, oh, I wish she was like available because she's awesome. And then as it turned out, she was available. Yeah. So it was great. But no, so we're looking to build, we're hoping to have another agent on by end of year, I would say, like one more, but we don't want to bring so many people on that we can't, you know, actually help them, because Wendy and I very much want to build somebody's success. Like we want to make sure they're set up for success. And we understand that people don't stay on teams forever. So we've built out a compensation package that encourages them to stay on our team for longer. So it, you know, the longer you're with us, the greater your compensation becomes. Yeah. Right. Which a lot of people like who have been on teams that were looking at our compensation package were quite impressed actually. Yeah. And also we want them to still have their own personality within the team and their own individuality. So, you know, their sales are still recognized under their name, not just under the Homegirls name. So just little things to make them realize they're still an agent in themselves. And they're not just like, an extension of us.
And they're important. I mean, their success is our success and vice versa, right? So.
And right now also, because Wendy and I, like she said, we are very referral based, which is sensational. Like we've been like 10 years, both of us in the business basically. And over that 10 years, we have had a lot of referrals come now. And that just shows how much we're like basically going above and beyond for our clients. Because not only is it our clients that are coming back to us, they're referring us to people. So we have between last month and this month and the month after, we've got 7 listings starting, all of which are just referrals. So that said, we haven't really had a chance to dial in on our database as much as we'd like to. Yeah. So that's where Alexa's going to come in. So she can actually really dial in on that database for us, see if we can get more business out of that.
Mine that database, because there are deals definitely in there. We
for sure
don't have a chance to, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyways,
So I love your guys' approach to things as well. I've actually had some like tough conversations with new realtors that are getting started who like they're saying like, oh my gosh, like in order to be a successful realtor in this industry, I have to be like a transactional realtor, and I really don't want to be that. I'm like, no, it's like definitely the wrong way to think about it, right? And to be able to see people who are having that success being the relationship based realtors, which I think is the best way to go about doing business too, the easiest way to sleep at night, the best way to like put yourself out there and do the best for your clients is really important. And I hope there's a lot of people who end up watching this, like especially newer realtors who can aspire to kind of go down that path. I find it's really important. And I also love your guys' take on the whole team model as well, because not every team leader has that kind of idea where they want to try and help grow that team member as well. And I think you're going to find, like, I know you're saying that, you know, team members don't want to stick around forever. They just might if it's this kind of win-win situation for everybody. And, you know, increasing compensation packages aside, I think if people are just happy in their situation, happy in life, and are enjoying what they do on a daily basis, and they're getting paid a decent amount for it, like they're going to want to stick around with you too. Especially, I mean, I want to stick around with you too, just talking to you guys today. So far.
Fine, Linus, you can be on our team. It's
Yeah, we need a whole boy. We need a whole boy.
That's secretly
right?
what this is. We're not actually recording this. I'm trying to pitch myself to join your guys.
All right, we're going to start recording now.
That's funny.
And also, like, even the benefit of a team, like Wendy and I said, like, even when we partnered, like, as you guys know, like, real estate can be a very lonely business. And if you need to have somebody that you can bounce things off of, even when you've got an office, that's great. You do your team meetings, you've got your people that you can talk to, but it is so key to have somebody this close to you that you can talk about, like, your deals that you're going through. You can talk about a client. How do I handle this? Like, it's having that team aspect of it is so key, because you have accountability. Like, you have somebody else you have to be accountable for. You can't just be like, hey, well, we got a couple sales. I'm going to sit back and chill now and let that money flow in, and then we'll see what happens in a couple months. You've got somebody behind you saying, okay, but like, let's keep going. And like, we do that for each other.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Anyway, that's a benefit to teaming too.
Yeah. Good motivator for sure.
For sure it is.
Yeah.
One thing I've always been impressed with as well with the two of you is how well you handle other agents' referrals. You know, receiving, and I know that you've received referrals from our agents across our network, because we have 8 other offices, and, you know, traveling around to the other office, meeting the other agents and whatnot, but treating their clients as if they're, you know, gold, and building out that network. How important is that in terms of, and especially being in Hamilton, where, you know, not a lot of our agents know anything about Hamilton. So giving those referrals over to you guys is so important in their business too.
For sure. And especially if you're not Hamilton is a very specific city in which you could have like the neighborhood, like street to street, can be completely different. You could have like a street where you literally have mansions, and then one street over, it's not so much. But it's still under the same neighborhood. So if you don't know Hamilton, it can be very dangerous to try and sell here without knowing the area. So, you know, it is great to be able to have those relationships for other offices where we will say, yeah, send them our way. We're going to treat them exactly the same way we treat our own clients. We're going to make sure they're treated like gold, like you said, and make sure we don't put them somewhere that's not ideal.
Yeah.
And, you know, make sure that they're in a good school area. They're in an area where, you know, because we've got a huge stadium, we're not putting them around the stadium where they're going to have, you know, massive traffic every other Sunday for football games.
Well, unless you like football. I'd be okay there.
Yeah.
But yeah, but also, and the one thing I noticed about Hamilton too, so I moved here in 2004, I guess. It's very, it's like, even though it's a big city, not a massive city, but a big city.
Careful, I was born and raised here.
No, but I want to say it's very community. It's very cliquey. It's very like the pride of Hamilton is huge.
Yeah.
So if you have somebody coming from, I don't know, Markham or Richmond Hill, who's never been here before, doesn't know anything, is trying to sell a house here, people would be like, you know, no, you don't know us. You're not one of us. They really there's a lot of pride here, and I think they really expect that you're going to have somebody local to sell a property, and they're going to respect that, and they're probably going to make it easier for you to sell
100%.
Versus having an agent from outside come in, and then all of a sudden now the dogs are barking and the music's playing at, you know, all hours of the day, and they can make it a bit difficult for a lot of sort of out of town agents. Not saying you specifically or Hamiltonians are mean, but I've noticed that. Like,
you're 100% right.
Yeah, there's a certain, but I love that community vibe. Like, welcome, come on in, but just make sure you
Yeah.
treat us well and take care of us, kind of thing. So
We always
anyway.
make sure we tell everybody I was born and raised here. So
Yes.
I'm like, that's how we start. So I was born and raised here. I know I'm in Burlington now, but I'm still one of you.
Yeah,
It's-
yeah, exactly. And I used to work on the news. I used to be on CHH. Remember me?
Yeah.
From Channel 11. They'll be like, "Oh yeah,
Actually,
okay."
all
Then they
people
like us.
do, and then like, they'll throw out like what was your saying? Like, I'm
and
Wendy
that's
Wolf,
the
and
hype.
that's the
I'm
hype.
Wendy Wolf. Yeah. Wow. Cut that.
I'm gonna no, I'm not. No, keep that in. I want people to start saying that every time.
But the one thing I want to do, and Beth and I have talked about this that we haven't done because we haven't really had the time, is go back and do another office tour. Because
Oh yeah,
I had done that in the past
Yeah.
with Sarah, who was a C21 agent. We went to Thornhill, Richmond Hill, Newmarket. And we just introduced ourselves and dropped off some cards and had a little chat with people in the office. And that was sort of what kickstarted some of the referrals. But it was just fun to go and,
Yeah, say hi.
to meet people and say hi and be like, hey, we're here. We'll take care of you.
We
and
can
your
do. We
clients."
can do a Kingston weekend.
Ooh, yeah.
I can think of 20 agents off the top of my head who would love to meet you two. So right there, we can make a big event out of it. Homegirls
Love
Team in
it.
Kingston.
We're going to go
Make
to
sure-
Montreal first, though.
Make sure food's involved.
Okay, get some bagels, and then we'll do
and then
Kingston on the
back
way
to
back.
Kingston. Yeah.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Okay, we're doing that.
Yeah, we're doing that. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
There's got to be a competition between restaurants in Kingston and Hamilton because I don't know which town has the best restaurants, but both towns must have the top two towns in Canada for restaurants because the food in both Hamilton and Kingston are like top notch. I love going to both. Like, oh yeah,
Well, Hamilton's kind of put themselves on the map as like a foodie town.
it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, and that's been the last, I'm going to say, like, maybe 15 years. Like,
Okay.
maybe would you say? Or
I
less?
say less. I would
Less,
say less.
okay.
I say maybe 10.
10 years? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So it is people now are like foodies because especially down like that Lock Street section, there's so many good places down there. And that the downtown core, they've got all these little shops popping up or all these little restaurants popping up, but like kind of like cool, like
Yeah.
vibey, like almost trendy, hippie, hipster.
King
restaurant.
William.
Yes.
You can
yeah.
literally. So I've done this. I did a whole video food tour.
Yeah.
I ate at 15 different restaurants on one street, all different,
Yeah.
all amazing. I have not had a bad meal on King William.
No, that one we went to was sensational. I can't remember. But anyways, yeah, it's so I hear what you're saying, Aaron, because they definitely have put themselves on the map
Yeah.
as like foodies. Now we've got cool Mexican, we've got like
Yeah,
like even
French, the
yeah.
diners, yeah, everything.
Yeah, it's
the only
cool.
one, the only one I shouldn't say I don't like because the food is really good, is Conversate. Because
No,
I can't stand the name.
The name. It's not a freaking word. It's
It's
not a word.
That's crazy.
And then I thought it was like they were trying to be like ironic with that name. And then Wendy met the anyways,
yeah, I met
the owner,
I met
and
the owner.
that was on purpose.
Me and my girlfriend were there one of the first nights after they opened, and the owner came around and she was asking all the tables about this, that, and the other. And I said, well, the food was good. I loved your cocktails. We were giving honest opinions about decor and that kind of stuff because she asked for them.
Mhm.
And I said, the only thing I don't like about the place is the name. She said, what do you mean? I'm like, well, Conversate, it's not a word. She's like, yes, it is. I said, no, it's not. Yeah, you conversate with your friends. I'm like, no,
That's-
you converse with your
it's
friends.
even
It's
worse
just
like
like,
use the sentence.
oh, isn't that funny? And I was, I kind of laughed. No, it's not. But I didn't say that to her. I didn't
Yeah.
want. But clearly, she had no clue, and I don't understand how.
How did they get past every friend group you had?
Yeah.
Be like, no, it's great.
Or the person making the sign, or like it's just
like,
you
explain it to me.
Yeah.
Conversate.
Anyway, so Kingston. So is it known for a specific type of restaurant, or is it just like everything?
I feel like there's a lot of similarities between
Okay.
Hamilton and Kingston in the restaurant scene. There's a lot of local restaurants that have been opening up. I mean, it's been known for the restaurants for a while, but a lot of new kind of fresh kind of inspired idea restaurants have been popping up, especially over the past 10, 15 years. I feel like there's been this trend over the past couple of decades, not just with restaurants, but things like breweries too. There's a lot more independent breweries out there, wineries, that kind of thing. Just that the more like kind of culture vibe, right? To like to add to that kind of flavor to a city. So we definitely have that here. I think it's the only reason Aaron ever likes coming up to Kingston is because he always wants to go
I
to
love
restaurants.
the people too.
Yeah. No, every time Aaron comes up to visit, we always try a different restaurant. It's kind of the thing that we
nice.
decide to do. So.
All right.
Yeah, and I know he'll never run out of good restaurants here because there's just that many in Kingston, which is amazing.
Okay, we'll have to get a recommendation when we come.
Yeah. What's the population of Kingston?
130,000, give or take.
Oh,
Okay. All right.
Yeah, how big's
You
the
like-
hammer?
Hammer.
what?
If you drive by, it says 537, but I think there's
That was
more
before
than
we
that.
amalgamated, though. I think, isn't it? Yeah. So I think it's with all the amalgamation, because they just years ago they
Mhm.
amalgamated a bunch of cities within to Hamilton. So I think just Hamilton alone is about 500,000.
Mm.
But if you were to extend it, I'm gonna say closer to 1 million.
Yeah. The Winonas and
Yeah. Waterdown.
Waterdown.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of peeps. Lots of good food.
Yeah.
What's happening in the marketplace, like real estate wise? Is there any opportunities there that's popping up, and anything changing? Anything happening from a real estate perspective?
It's slowly starting to uptick. Like we just had a property that was on the market for a while, and then we
Audubon?
did, and then
November.
it was up. No, but we pulled it for a while just to kind of let it breathe
Mhm.
because it just wasn't moving, and so we pulled it, put it back on, did a price adjustment, and we all of a sudden had a bunch of showings. Then we had 2 offers on it.
Yep.
So one thing we are noticing more and more often, which is sale of property conditions on the
Oh, yeah.
offers coming through more and
Mhm.
more frequently. Where I've been in this for 10 years. That's never been a major thing, and we're seeing that 3 of the offers that we've seen lately have had sale of property conditions on them. But so the market it's picking up. It's slow.
It's slow.
Yeah.
But we're seeing the buyers. We just picked up a couple buyers. So, but then there's no urgency for sure on the buying end.
Right.
There's okay, well let's look at this one. But then you know what? We'll think about that one for a while, and then let's go see a few more on the weekend because they've got the opportunity right now to be super choosy because there's a ton of inventory and
a lot.
there's
How-
not many buyers.
How important is it to have a plan B when you take a listing, and say, listen, if it doesn't move after a certain amount of time and a certain amount of time, I love what you said, sometimes it needs a breathe, a refresh, renew a listing. Is that what we're looking at now? Is here we'll, put a plan together to sell it, but here's what happens if we don't move it. Do you have to think about that ahead of time?
Always.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I try to, include in the Schedule A when we have our conversations with our clients. I mean,
When we conversate.
conversate. Everyone wants to list higher. They always think their house is worth more than it is. And I get it, but we'll have that conversation, and I try to put a little synopsis of that conversation right into the paperwork they're signing.
Mm-hmm.
Listing agents suggested this price. Sellers, decided this is the price they want. It's, we're agreed. We're going to spend a couple of weeks and see how it goes. If we don't see any action, or if the, showings start to slow down,
I know
is what I'm trying to say. Then we're going to revisit, and perhaps, the agent strategy will take over, and then we get to drop the price and do what we want to do. But in some cases, we can document everything and just say, this is what's going to happen if you list now. It could be this way. We may need to suspend it and bring it back, which is what we did, because we listed, around the holidays, nobody was buying, nothing was moving, whatever. So take a pause and then bring it back in the spring. But we also didn't have, this crazy crap happening in the US that is really affecting way more people here than probably anticipated. Because tariffs means more money, means people will now start to add an extra potential tax or increase or surcharge on their products here, which means everything gets more expensive, which means people can't buy stuff, or companies need to start laying people off. So there's a lot of unknown, a lot of uncertainty. And I think that is really affecting people, as it should, because you go, you spend money on a house and you have 2 incomes and everything's tickety boo. And then all of a sudden, 3 months down the line, you find out that, we have 1 income. Now what do we do?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things at play, I think, that are affecting this market, not just, buyers and sellers and that kind of thing.
Yeah. There's been a weird pause with all the uncertainty on that end.
Mhm.
People just don't know what's going on. So they're just kind of pumping the brakes.
Yep.
But so what we also do with our client, we just had this. We just ran into this with this listing where we suggested a price, and we just set the expectations very early on, saying okay, right now, here's what the market's doing, guys. So the average days on market is higher than usual, but so it is going to sell, but it just might take a little bit longer. So don't get I don't want you to get upset or get freaked out if we have, it's not selling in the first little while. Second to that, we also tell them, listen, the market's going to talk very quickly. Mm-hmm. And if you price too high and you're either going to get 1 or 2 showings, or you're going to get no showings. The market will tell you very quickly if you're overpriced.
Yep.
And so, and like exactly like Wendy said, we did yesterday, we said, listen, can we agree in 2 weeks from now, if we've had no showings, can we revisit this price strategy? Because we don't want to do is let this thing go stale, because then you're just undesirable.
Yeah.
So we definitely set the expectations, especially in a market that is a bit crunchy, and let them and just let them know that, what it's going to look like. Cause that way they're not getting, anxious about the place not moving or not selling. And we're also very good at giving them complete feedback. As soon as the agents come through, Wendy and I are on the phone on like making sure we're getting feedback. Because even sometimes within the form, they'll just write, is your client interested? No. Okay, cool. Can you?
How's the price? Good.
Good.
Offer? Yeah. No. Okay,
yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Can we get more of it?
Yeah. It wasn't the right fit. Okay. Why wasn't the right fit? Like my client needs more than, we can't change the amount of rooms. We can't change the size of the house. We can change the price. So, let us know what it is that they didn't like, and then we'll go from there. But so we're on top of keeping our clients informed about what the people are saying. And, because then it all helps us too. If we have one or two that comes through, felt the price was high, then we go back to them and say, listen, guys, like we're getting this feedback that we're priced high compared to everything else in the market. Can we adjust?
Yeah.
I love the way that you approach that. And I think it should be an important part of any realtor strategy, not to speak in definitives, but more be like, hey, like this is kind of the plan. We'll adapt, we'll adjust, we'll see how things go. You kind of talk about the overall strategy of things, and you make sure that you take them on the journey with you. Yeah. Like even in like as an example, in listing presentations, I always say to an agent, like if you're going to a listing presentation, the thing that you want to make sure you do is get them to come to the decision what the price is. You guide them, showing them all the information, but you want them to be like, oh, this is the right price, right? You don't want to tell them and be like, hey, this is the price you need. You want them to kind of come to that conclusion on their own and participate in that decision-making process. Yeah. And it feels like that's kind of what you guys are doing here too. You're getting them all the information. Hey, listen, we'll see how things are going. If it's not going well, we'll adapt, we'll shift, we'll do what needs to be done. We will sell your house, but we need to kind of keep an eye on the long-term game here and just kind of change the strategy as we go. So I really like that.
Yeah,
it's difficult sometimes though, because you have people who, they're friends or realtors or a friend of a friend or a next door neighbor,
or their uncle sold a house 10
yeah,
years ago.
Exactly, right? So there's so many outside sort of influences, getting into people's heads.
And everyone's got the same uncle apparently, right?
Yeah, exactly. And they'll say, oh my goodness, they'll look at pictures, oh my God, well, this house is all of a sudden, because it's decluttered and staged beautifully and painted, they think it's worth $100,000 more than what it was prior to the gallon of paint that we just added. But it's frustrating sometimes because you can bring comparables, you can show them actives, and you can show them days on market, and then you can show them what's expired, what's canceled, what's sold, and there'll be one property that just happened to sell for way too much money, and that's the one they're gonna be like, yeah, but look at this one. This is just like ours. It's like, yeah, but we don't know what happened there. Yeah. That's an anomaly. That's fantastic. But look at all these other 15 that make sense for what we're trying to list at. Yeah. So, yeah. But anyway, at the end of the day, as long as we can have that honest conversation, as long as they understand that, we're coming from a place of experience and we're not trying to undervalue their home. We're just trying to make sure that it does sell as opposed to sit for 6 months. Then we're okay.
Yeah, it also doesn't look good on us if it sits for 6 months. You see our sign sitting in somebody's lawn for like 4 or 5 months, like we're worst realtors ever.
Exactly.
Like,
don't call the home.
Yeah, don't call the home girls. Don't sell anything.
How important is staging with homes nowadays?
Oh,
sorry,
we stage everything.
It's everything. Yeah.
And so Wendy and I, we have two approaches. Either we have a whole storage unit filled with like couches and chairs and art and tons of staging stuff. In fact, our storage unit is like at the brim at this point because we're constantly on Marketplace trying to find some new goodies. So we have a stager that we work with if the whole home needs to be staged. But if it just needs like a little bit of a fluff and puff, then we'll come in and do that.
Yeah.
Now, like our latest one, we did both actually. We used the stager for the main areas, and then Wendy and I did the bedrooms. But it actually is annoying when I walk into a house that has not been staged, and you know that the agents put literally zero effort into this property. It's proven. It's proven that they sell for more money. They sell faster. You're doing your client a disservice if you're not properly staging that home. And that that's part of our compensation package is all the staging. We provide cleaning. We provide an allowance for a handyman. It's not a major allowance, but we provide an allowance for a handyman to come in and do any little like touch-ups that need to be done. Professional cleaner, staging, we obviously photography. So we try and give them a whole package that makes our compensation package make sense. That, they don't just feel like we've stuck the sign on the lawn and, okay, cool. We'll see you. I'll let you know if anybody comes through. When we do our open houses, we're doing an open house next level. Like we have music, we've got catering, we've got, flags,
popcorn maker,
prize
wheel.
Yeah. So we're making sure when people are coming into that open house, it is an experience. So staging is a huge part of that. They need to walk in, they need to get every sense going. They need to walk and see it. Like first 30 seconds, you've got to impress them. If you've lost them in the first 30 seconds, you've lost them.
Yeah.
You're going to have to really impress on the back end of that house.
Yeah.
I agree 150%. I think that's a huge value that you guys bring your clients. And I know it makes a big difference in terms of the price somebody gets for the house, for sure. Mm-hmm. And I think that's amazing that you guys put all that effort towards it, because it's not all about price, right? I mean, price is important, but you have a certain value that people see, and people buy an emotion, right? They buy because they love it. Unless you're trying to sell something that's a fix and flip, is like the worse it shows, the better. So somebody comes in and goes, I can get this for a great price or something,
Yeah.
Because there's those too, right? But how is the investment? Did you guys deal with investors or, any of that type of marketplace?
I haven't in a while. Before the pandemic, I had a couple of flippers who I worked with.
They've really gone away, haven't it? It's just not a flip market right now.
No. And also the competition is fierce because you have more agents now and that who do that. Mm-hmm. They've started their own little flipping companies. So they buy them on the cheap and they fix them and then they sell them. So it's kind of hard because as agents, we have a bit of we can get in a little because we can cut commission, right? Which, not saying it's the best way to do a transaction, but if you want a property bad enough, you'll say, you know what? Save the commission. I'll eat that and just give it to me.
Are those the people doing those handwritten notes to the door and have you seen that?
I actually, you're gonna laugh.
You're not gonna say you did one.
I did.
Oh, come on.
So because I was curious. So I said, you know what? I'm not gonna say who it was, but I called the number. Because it said, call, we'll buy your house, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, I thought you meant you did the note. Okay.
No. Oh, my.
That's what I thought you meant. I was like, why would you do that?
No. I took one of the notes, and I have an investor property, a condo. So I used the condo as the example, saying I was going to sell the condo. And they're like, okay, well, give us the information. And they didn't ask me if I was a realtor, which was great, because I didn't have to answer that question, because immediately they would have known that this was sort of like a ruse. Yeah. But anyway, so I sent the information, the address, any updates, blah, blah, blah. And they said, okay, well, give us a week. We're going to, do crunch some numbers. They came back to me $122,000 under what I could have sold the property for. So that was going to be basically, they were going to buy it for $122,000 less. They were probably going to put no money into it, because it wasn't a flip. It's a beautiful condo. It didn't need anything. And then they were just going to, turn it around, maybe paint it. I don't even think they would need to paint it. I sent them some pictures of what it looks like.
Yeah.
Because I have the most amazing tenants and it's immaculate. And and that was their ploy. So basically they were going to make $100,000 on my property.
It's nice of them.
So I was, it was hilarious to me.
Yeah.
But the average person, though, I mean, I'm a realtor, so it's a bit different. I'm approaching from a different mindset. But the average person might have looked at that money and went, oh, okay. So I don't have to clean it. Don't have to do anything. They're just going to give me cash for my property. Okay.
Yeah. I think you're just thinking about average person right now. Our clients sometimes have more access to information, not more access to information, but almost equal access to information than we do right now. And there's so many times we'll be like, now it is kind of nice because you don't have your friends every hours like say, oh, what did such and such sell for? Because they know now.
Yeah.
But so the amount of access that our clients have amount of information our clients have access to is unheard of now. So that would hinder them, I would think, because people actually do know what things are selling for. But swinging back to the investment standpoint, we had an investor that we worked with that had 4 properties. He sold all of them in the last year, just getting out of it completely. So it's just not, it's not the same. I used to have 4 or 5 I worked with like through a couple of years, and they were active and I loved it.
Yeah.
But now gone.
It's not a thing.
Yeah.
We'll see how, the market shifts and turns around, see if they come back to the table, right? We never know. I mean, it could shift on a dime.
Well, especially the election. Yeah. If there's any change in that, then
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, guys. If you enjoyed the show, you can subscribe to us wherever you find your podcasts. And please don't forget to leave us a review on any of those sites. You can also check out our website at livingthedream.show, where you can check out and listen to any and all of our shows, or you can head over to our YouTube channel at youtube.livingthedream.show to watch our podcast video streams on demand. Beth and Wendy, thank you so much for coming out today. Like Erin just said, like, you guys are infectious. Your energy is infectious. I feel like me and Erin didn't even have to do much to the talking because we just enjoyed listening to you guys and the stories that you had to bring to the table. So it was a pleasure in every sense of the word.
Thank you.
Look forward to the next one.
Yes.
Definitely. And I'm going to hold you guys to that trip to Kingston too.
Oh, we'll do it.
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure.
Absolutely.
Amazing.